So when I was turning 50, I had this growing, gnawing feeling that I was going to be a failure. It wouldn't have appeared that way. I was happily married to Scott Maker. We were raising 4 fabulous children, both employed, enjoyed each other, enjoyed friends and family, and I appreciated all those blessings. Just as I had appreciated the many blessings I'd had through my childhood, education, and adult life, and the many opportunities I was given to explore, learn, and see the world and learn about the state of Maine. But always, I thought I was getting those blessings and those opportunities to do something beyond taking care of myself and my family. I thought I was being prepared for a purpose, to take care of others, to do something for others, to give back, to pay it forward. I wasn't doing that. I didn't know when I was going to be able to. But this was not a dream, it was an obligation, and I believe it came from my family of origin. So my grandfather, Ralph Cianchette, immigrated to the United States from Italy as an 11-year-old boy to meet up with his father here in Maine to find the land of hope and opportunity. And he did. And he strongly felt that he needed to give back to the society and the community that had given him so much. And he did. And he instilled that ethic in his 7 children. And one of them, Chuck, my father, instilled it in me. My father was a blessing to me in many ways, and in one, and I was able to watch him not only work, where he and his brothers built a construction company that's today known as Chinbro, but he also gave back in so many ways. And one, during my formative years, I remember the most. He served in the Maine State Senate. My mom was busy raising 4 children, not so interested in politics. I got to go with him to his political events. And then I got to go with him to the state senate and watch him serve. That was pretty cool. He also had high aspirations for me, and so the day I told him, I was probably 8 years old, "Dad, I know what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be a stewardess." He responded with equal enthusiasm, "That's great, but first you should go to law school." He reasoned with me what he believed was that a law school education is the best way one can prepare to address societal problems. You learn how to work with people, how to analyze big problems and create solutions to them. And he also reassured me, even if you get the law school education, you do not have to be a lawyer. You can be a stewardess, and the education will serve you well in that or whatever you choose to do. Well, guess what? I never became a stewardess. I became a lawyer. I went to law school, and I came out of law school and went into a profession that wasn't your traditional lawyer profession. I started working at a law firm, but I was representing business leaders like my dad, in fact, including my dad for 2 years, in their efforts at the state legislature. I became a lobbyist. I was much more comfortable in a state house, our state house, than any courthouse, given where I'd been as a child. And I loved that work. My whole career has evolved and revolved around the Capitol in the state of Maine and public policy, and helping businesses and professional associations and legislators understand each other and create laws that make sense for what the state of Maine needs and what these businesses need for all to be successful. It's been a great career, but that was work. That wasn't giving beyond. It wasn't doing more. It wasn't paying it forward. So here I was in my early 50s now, and it was when our third child went off to college that this space opened up for me to think about this hard. And I did. And I thought about all the problems I knew and trying to decide which one would I want to lean into and help make a difference. Child abuse, domestic violence, tenants' rights, food insecurity, substance abuse. I had touched those in different ways through my research, through my profession, pro bono work. I couldn't pick one, but I began to notice the common thread that went through them all: poverty. I wanted to address poverty because then you would address the woes I just listed and more. Not completely, but you'd certainly get a long way further. So I decided that I wanted to create jobs for Maine people that Maine people can and want to do. There it was. How was I going to do that? I didn't have a construction company. I couldn't go out and get another job and hire a bunch of people like my dad and uncles had done. But I took stock of everything that I had learned. What was all this package that Andrea had? I knew how to do economic development research. I had served on commissions for governors to do those studies. Watch them sit on the shelf. But I also knew initiatives. I knew how to get involved in something with a goal, limited time to create something new. In fact, I had recently done an initiative. I'd been hired by the then president and CEO of WEX, Mike Dubiak, to do the startup initiative called Project Login to increase the number of computer science graduates for Maine businesses. I knew how to fundraise. I knew you need money to do an initiative. I'd fundraise through the political work that I had done and through the charities I'd supported in my church. And I also knew this. I knew that public policy makers, they do economic development policies, and they're spread across a broad base of constituencies that they need to serve and accommodate. So the limited resources they have can be spread so thin, the effectiveness gets diluted. So I put all that together, and I designed an initiative, a private sector-led initiative that would identify just 2 or 3 industry sectors that have high potential for accelerated growth in Maine. That was it. I started talking to Mike Dubiak about this idea, and he not only liked it, he was just retiring from his role as president. He had time opening up in his life, and he wanted to do it with me. How cool was that? I had a business leader now who wanted to do this with me. So I had a partner who shared the passion for what we wanted to do and the vision, and we dove in. The first thing we did is we assembled a group of business leaders, small group, but leaders who had grown their organizations rapidly. And I knew from my public policy days that wasn't enough. You needed diverse and additional resources. So we convened a group of some of Maine's best economists, some of Maine's best leading academics, business association leaders, and some former governors and state senators. So together, we could do the work to identify the sectors. This was an interesting and pivotal moment for me in my journey from failure to purpose. We had assembled the organization chart. We had the leadership team and the various teams around, and Mike was the chair, and my name wasn't on the chart because I had defaulted to my standard role that I'd done through my entire career of supporting the business leaders in their initiative. But this time, it didn't feel right. This time I felt like I was not giving this initiative all I had in that support role. I needed to also be a leader of it. I had the vision, I had the drive. Mike agreed, and we co-chair this initiative. And as soon as my name went down as co-chair, any semblance of a feeling of failure that I had in me at that point went completely away, totally replaced with this energy, drive, ambition, motivation that continues to this day. inside me. And that was 3 years ago. In those 3 years, we did the research in year one. We identified our sectors to grow Maine's food economy, to grow Maine's manufacturing and biopharmaceuticals so we can connect to the research and development going on in Boston. And we also recognize we need to grow Maine's workforce. Year two, we brought in experts to design plans around these studies that we had done on how to grow them. And we put a budget to that, and we came up with a 3-year budget for a 10-year initiative that we intend to oversee now. Year three, this year, we raised $4.9 million from the Harold Elfond Foundation, which is 3/4 of what we need for our 3 years of funding. We have contracted now with nonprofits in Maine to provide the services needed to build the businesses in the sectors we selected. And we've hired a president. How cool is that? I've always believed that when people act on their passion, good things happen. And now I see that when people come together around a common, shared passion, great things can happen. I totally believe that this initiative that we call Focus Maine will create jobs for Maine people that Maine people can and want to do. So I'm curious, what's your passion? And what are you doing with it? Thank you.